Hello and welcome to episode 5 of the Johnny McCrary Show. I am Ben Weinrib.
And I am Virginia Norder.
We've got a great show for you guys today. We're going to start you off with a recap of basketball's first official win of the season against Trevecca. We're going to go ahead and preview the Mississippi State game. I'm going to move along to the black and gold storylines, back to fill in the blank, women's cross country, and end up with our favorite Kyle Fuller and an update on his book. So as we said earlier, basketball had their first win of the season in an 83-56 win against Trevecca. Now, we're not exactly sure what a Trevecca is. They don't have a logo on ESPN. The only two games on their schedule are us and Belmont. So for all we know, they're a local high school team. They played that way because this team ended up winning by a whole lot. We saw a big game out of Damian Jones, who had been pretty quiet in the exhibition games. He scored 24 points, 12 rebounds, and just looked absolutely dominant out there.
We did see a big game out of Damian Jones. We saw another big game out of another big guy on Vanderbilt's team, Luke Cornett. He with a double-double, 10 and 10, and 4 blocks, and he only shot 2 threes. And rumor is Kevin Stallings was heard to shout, "Luke, you're not a point guard."
Yeah, so good to see him actually finally play as a big guy. The other nice thing we saw was the freshman guards had a lot of nice play. We saw Shelton Mitchell get involved, Riley LaChance, who's been very good during the preseason games. Just a lot to be excited about this team. We didn't really know what we'd see out of these freshman guards, but if they're going to keep playing like this, maybe once we start playing real college teams, this could end up being a top half SEC team. And we'll talk a little bit about how the SEC is doing later. Now, SEC in basketball is not very good, but what they are good in is football. And we're going to see the second best team in the SEC when Vanderbilt goes to play Mississippi State in Starkville. For those of you who don't know, Starkville, by far the worst SEC town. The best thing to do in Starkville is get out of Starkville. That's what you can do, really.
I've never been, so I wouldn't know. But now I know I shouldn't go.
Lucky you.
Yeah.
Of course, Mississippi State was the number 1 team in the nation last week until they lost to Alabama, which kind of puts them in a funny situation.
It does. Actually, now, if you think about it, losing to Alabama could have been the best thing that could have happened to Mississippi State, because now they have a chance to go to the playoff.
Yeah, all they have to do is beat Vanderbilt and Mississippi State, and assuming Alabama wins the Iron Bowl against Auburn, they won't have to worry about the SEC championship game where they'll be waiting on a Georgia or a Missouri. But obviously this team is really good. The one glimmer of hope, well, there's 2 glimmers of hope for Vanderbilt. One of those is that this is somewhat of a trap game, where the Vanderbilt's sandwiched right between Alabama, who's currently number 1 team in the nation, and Ole Miss, who's their bitter rivals. Of course, they're going to be pretty upset since they lost to Alabama, so who knows if they're going to overlook Vanderbilt to the next game or not. But the other thing is they have a really bad pass defense. They gave up 400 yards passing to a non-conference team very early on in the season, and they're a team that can be exploited. So maybe this is an opportunity for our guy Johnny McCrary, to take off and have a big game.
I think it certainly is. They have to get together at some point, that's all.
Yeah. So that's the big thing for this game, is to see maybe Vanderbilt's almost certainly not going to win, but the spread on this game is 30.5 points, and you sort of hope keep it into like a 42-13 game, 35-6 game, something where we don't get totally embarrassed. That would be a nice start.
And have you ever heard about playing to your competition?
Yeah.
Maybe we'll play up to our competition.
Yeah.
And we'll surprise everyone.
Yeah, we've seen them hang around against South Carolina and even a little bit in some other games, longer than they should have. So that's the hope. First half, let's keep it within 2 scores or something like that.
Yeah.
Now, Vanderbilt football has not been very good, but we do have the defending national champions in baseball, where the Black and Gold Series just took place, and that's for those of you who don't know, the inter-squad scrimmage, where the teams are split in half. Now, the most interesting thing probably was the return of Phil Pfeiffer, who took last season off and was dominant in his Friday start, 5 shutout innings, 3 or 4 strikeouts. There's a little bit of debate going on between people who are watching, but looked very good. He wasn't throwing particularly hard, about 87 to 89, but he got into the 90s a couple times and just really shut down the Gold lineup. And he had an excellent game, and it sort of makes you wonder, where does this guy fit into a very stacked Vanderbilt rotation? You know, we've already got Carson Fulmer, Walker Bueller, Tyler Ferguson returning. There's a couple freshmen who look like they could be knocking on the door, but now there's just a whole bunch of more arms out there for Vanderbilt.
There definitely is. And along with Pfeiffer, we have Rhett, who he did awesome in the series. He hit 2 doubles and a triple in the 3 games, and he's actually the only one on his team to hit over .200.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different things to be excited about here. Dansby Swanson hit 2 homers on Saturday. We saw long balls also from Xander Wheel, Nolan Rogers, Tyler Green. The most exciting thing to me about the Black and Gold series is how many young guys we've seen. We saw speed from Jaron Kendall stealing a base. We saw just all sorts of different guys come in and make an impact. And it's our chance to see a lot of these guys that we haven't seen before.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now the one thing that's interesting about Phil Pfeiffer, just to go back to him real quick, is he is a record setter and all sorts of stuff for Tennessee. He has the most wins in high school history. This is a guy that we thought would make an impact early on in his career, and maybe now he's come back. And he's talked a lot about how thankful he is that Coach Corbin let him back, that he's a guy that could really help this team out. So that's a guy to look out for in the future. So now let's head over to our new segment for recent memory, fill in the blank.
All right, Ben, you can stop tripping over your words on that one. So for this week's fill in the blank, the first one we're going to look at is going to be, besides Kentucky, SEC basketball is blank. What are we looking at here, guys?
All right, I'm going to go with everyone in the SEC is Gator good. And so right now, Florida is ranked 8th in the nation, although they lost their first game of the year, which is pretty sad. But I don't think Florida's that good. They were really good last year, not because they had any like 1 or 2 particularly great players, but because they had so many veteran guys that have been around for 4 years and made a big impact. They did lose Scotty Wilbekin, who was the SEC Player of the Year. They lost Patrick Young, but they're certainly not the 8th best team in the nation, and they're a very questionable team to me. And everyone in the SEC has some talent, but there's just so much unknown. They all have the potential to be, I think, a solid tournament teams, but there's so many questions in the air. It's hard to tell if anyone besides Kentucky, who's hogging all of the talent in the SEC, who else is going to finish 2 through 14.
Just a quick clarification there, Ben. What was that word? What's the rest of the SEC? The blank?
Gator good.
Gator good. That's a bad word we're looking at here?
Yeah, but Gator good is an alliteration and Gator bad isn't.
Okay, sure enough. All right, good talk.
I'd say everyone outside of Kentucky and Florida, they're a joke. If you take a look, like Ben was saying, Kentucky and Florida certainly do hog a lot of the talent, and the other SEC teams are suffering.
All right, if I'm going to declare a winner there, I got to go with Virginia. Just the way she said joke, it was just, I didn't like Gator good. I'm not going to lie here, Ben. Didn't really like it that much. You're better than that.
You're making enemies.
All right, good to know. All right, the next fill in the blank we're looking at here. We're looking at the men's basketball team. We've noticed a good amount of them wear sleeves under their basketball jersey. And we're wondering here at Sports Wired, if you do wear sleeves under your basketball jersey, you are blank.
This is an easy one for me. This is definitely insecure. I can tell you this, as a semi-professional basketball player, there is nothing I hate more than playing with sleeves because it just ruins all of your mobility. You're restricted in your movement, and it's awful. I even prefer almost to play without shirts on because then it's just all free moving everywhere. Get to show off the guns and everything. But sleeves are just awful. They get in the way of things, and the only reason for you to wear sleeves is not because it's cold, because they keep Memorial Gym at a very appropriate temperature, but it's just because you're afraid to show off your body. And I don't like that in a player. We need confidence. So shame on you, Vanderbilt basketball.
I'm actually going to have to agree with Ben here a bit. I'd say if you wear sleeves with your basketball jersey, I'd say that you're soft. Before I got to Vanderbilt, I'd never seen people wear sleeves underneath their basketball jersey. And now that I'm at Vanderbilt and I see how our team is doing, I understand why I never saw players wear sleeves underneath their basketball jersey. It just doesn't work well.
Shots
Wow.
fired.
Wow, good God. Soft. I'm giving this again to Virginia. I mean, Ben, you got to come up with a hell of a word to this third one to overtake that. Because soft, that is just would not have expected that from Virginia. All right, next one right here. Last fill in the blank we're looking at. Penn State beating Temple was blank. We were looking forward to this all year. It finally happened. Maybe not the way we wanted it to go. What's your interpretation? Penn State beating Temple.
To me, it was just utterly disappointing. I was really, really rooting for Bain to walk onto the field and just blow up the entire stadium, but that didn't happen. The first half was pretty nice. It was just 6-3, and I was really hoping for a nice 9-6 finish. But then Penn State pulled away, and really, if I could have picked one team to win, it would have been Temple, because at least it would have felt good that at least we both lost to them. But then Penn State beat them. So not only did Bain not blow up the field, but Temple didn't even show up. So utterly disappointing.
I'd have to say it was heartbreaking. We don't want Penn State to do well. We still are not over our loss to Temple, so to make ourselves look better, it'd be nice if Temple could win some more games, but it's clearly not happening. And then for them to lose to Penn State like that, it just kind of rubs salt in old wounds.
All right, I'm giving this last question to Ben with utterly disappointing, but not quite enough to overtake Virginia's lead with those fantastic first two questions. Ben, you had so much potential with the Bain. That really could have worked its way in.
Are you sure it doesn't count for 3 points?
Yeah, well, it could have had you worked Bain into the equation, but because it was just utterly disappointing.
The bane of my existence. Can I switch that one around?
You can't switch it now. I'm also telling you what would have taken a win. So Virginia takes the win. Ben, props for the Bain reference and the possibility of it getting in there next time. Definitely an incentive to work it in. All right, guys, this has been Fill in the Blank. Congrats, Virginia, on the win. Enjoy it.
I am on a real losing streak for these games, and I think it's the fault of all the judges and no one else. But anyways, on to cross country. This has been it's been a good year for cross country so far, and we've seen that after they won the regionals this year. They advanced to the finals next weekend, and this is going to be the first regional championship ever for Vanderbilt women's cross country. And that's just obviously great news for Vanderbilt sports.
It is. They're a great group of girls. They're hardworking and they're quick. 3 of the girls finished in the top 10, 5 in the top 15 at regionals. They're now ranked number 16th in the country. They've overtaken Tallahassee.
Yeah, we saw Coach Keith was actually named South Region Coach of the Year, which is another great honor. Certainly no Tim Corbin, but that's a pretty high praise to go after. But then to wrap up our show, good friend of the program, Kyle Fuller, is still working on his book, Below the Rim, and sources say there's going to be a Deadspin article coming out about him in a little bit, and it's sort of related to how he has his Kickstarter. It's coming. He has the first reboot in the second round of his Kickstarter, no longer going for $50,000, now going for $30,000. Right now, with just under a month to go, 28 days, they're sitting at $7,400. So still a little bit of work, a quarter of the way there, but very excited to see what's up Kyle Fuller's sleeve next. For Virginia Norder, I'm Ben Weinrib, and we will see you, I guess, in 2 weeks for episode 6, Return of the Johnny, on the Johnny McCrary program. We'll see you later.
Have a good Thanksgiving.